My life be like, yeah. My life be like, yeah.
Good morning, guys. Pops the Paladin here, talking about Mythic Chronomatic Anomaly for DPS Prot tank. Now, since this is our guild's first kill, my trinkets were a little bit different than I normally run. I wasn't necessarily running a DPS build per my trinkets. However, I was still trying to throw out as much damage as I could, and I'm going to explain that. I'll put up another video here probably within the next week or two as our guild starts to get this more on farm. Should it have already been on farm? You better believe it. However, since this was our first kill, my trinkets consisted of Grotesque Statuette and Royal Dagger Haft. And the reason why I ran Royal Dagger Haft is because at the end of the fight, I'm going to go run off on my own. And I needed a life save just in case, because the way we did this kill, we needed a constant interrupt on that ad that we ignored, and I'm going to show it here a little bit later. So keep in mind, granted my DPS was lower than it normally is, I was not in the 95th or higher percentile for this specific fight. I was only in the 80th percentile for this one. I believe I ended at 315,000 DPS, but my damage taken per second was much lower than normal. Why? Because I wasn't running Seraphim. As well as my healing was increased per second because, once again, I wasn't running Seraphim, so I was actually keeping myself alive better because it was our guild's first kill. So kind of jumping into a little bit of how we get going here. Obviously, Potions of the Old War to get started off, and you're going to see some odd movement per our guild, and I'm going to explain a little bit per why we do that. Just to give a little bit of insight as to how we're necessarily doing it. So the normal pull that we always do for all of our DPS build fights, just blow everything off the get-go, and that's going to be fine for us because that big ad's not going to come up for quite some time. Excuse me. Once that big ad does come up, the way we do it, and if you are a Prot tank, you should be doing it the same way. You're going to tank the boss first, and you're going to pull him over to the right ad. Right or left ad, doesn't matter, however your guild's going to do it, but you're going to go to that specific ad with the boss. It's going to be a lot of damage, so what I do is I use my Ardent Defender, and I try to stave off using my Guardians of the Ancient King because I'm going to need it elsewhere in this fight. So I AD, and I hope to survive through there. I ask for some barks here. Throw out my Eye of Tear, and now we're going to sit on this boss, and you can see my other teammates are coming back from the other side, but we're going to wait Power Overwhelming to 8. Now there are groups who do it to 9, however we were alright doing it at 8, and we still were able to kill it within the appropriate amount of time, so no big deal. At 8 you see me jump on top of the tank, and I still have the boss. The important thing to do is always maintain the boss because of how tank stacks are going to occur in this fight. Obviously we get to 10 and the tank explodes, wiping the raid, so we run it to 8. You can run it to 9, no big deal, because you have a lot of time in between each stack in order to taunt it off. We just do it at 8 because it keeps it nice and level. So you're going to see me still holding on to the boss. We recentered the boss a little bit so we can utilize our Warlock gates. Had we stayed on the right hand side, we would be getting further and further away from that left hand ad that's going to spawn, and that's really important for you to be able to get to that ad, running to it, and then warping back to the boss, because it's very important for us to get massive amount of damage onto the boss at all times on this fight. It's not necessarily a DPS check, but it kind of is if you're doing it like this, like pretty much everybody in the world is currently running Chronomatic Anomaly. So I'm holding on to the boss here. You saw me get 8 stacks, move my off tank, he taunted, and I run off to the left hand ad now, and he's going to take the boss to the right ad just like we do every time. So for me, I go right, left, and on that last left I'm on my own, no healer, just me, and you can do it. It seems a little scary at first, especially when you have boss and ad, because they hit you like a truck and it sucks, but you can do it. So right here we're just gonna blow up the ad, and right about now I call out for when they interrupt the boss to start pulling him towards us, so that way we can get to him closer, or faster I should say. And you just see us continue on here. Now I'm watching my off tank stacks, and they're gonna drop off here, or actually they're not gonna drop off here because we're gonna go to 2 stacks only for this particular power overwhelming. So we did 8, 4, 2 so far, and I'm gonna let my off tank hold it, and then I'm gonna taunt right here so I can gain the stacks to then go to the right hand side, because right about now this second set of ad phase comes out really quick after this interrupt that just happened. So I'm running over to the ads. You can see I've already used my Ardent Defender, or I'm sorry, my Guardians of the Ancient King in order to survive that little aspect. Our group, we lust here on the slow ad to kind of combat the slow factor, and so it kind of makes us act like we're in normal phase, and that allows us to kill this guy quickly because we have to interrupt the boss within 4, and I did it on 3, but we have to interrupt it within 4, otherwise it's pretty much gonna start wiping our raid because we just still don't have the healing cooldowns available for us. So we interrupt the boss. I'm taking the boss right now. I'm starting to run it towards the other group so that way they can get back in time because they were still working on the ads over there. The bad part about this boss and the way we do it, I step out of my consecration quite a bit. So if you want to hold it for yourself, that's fine, but whatever happens. Now right here you see we flip over and I go right on to the left ad. I am the only one here on the left ad. Everybody's burning through that right ad to try to get it down so that way they have an interrupt available. Once they get that ad down, they're gonna just go absolutely ham on the boss in order to down him, and pretty much this is our race. This is our check. If we get another set of ads, obviously we're gonna wipe. So your job here as a paladin tank is to make sure that you are interrupting as much as possible. So throw out your rebuke, hold your avenging shield, so that way you can get an interrupt. I missed a couple here since it was really the first time we got to this particular part in the fight, because we changed tactics right now. This was the first time we changed tactics, and holy shit, it actually worked. We downed the boss. But you're gonna see all I'm doing is just interrupting, trying to stay alive, giving myself self heals, pop an Ardent Defender. You can also see that my Royal Dagger Haft also triggered as well, and bam, we down Chronomatic Anomaly. It's a pretty easy strat, especially when you have a Prot Paladin in your group, because we can interrupt pretty much on our own. We can survive pretty much on our own. And this is why I change my trinkets, because I'm standing on my own at the last part of the fight. Now before we actually did this pull, I was actually running my DPS spec, so I was able to put out about 450k per pull. But when we changed up the strat to try to get the kill, and we did, you could see that my DPS dropped dramatically. And another reason why that dropped dramatically is because I'm solo hitting an ad off to the left hand side, where if you wanted to increase your DPS, obviously the more things around you the better, and that's what happens on the other side if you were to go there. But because it's not always about DPS, though in my opinion it's also about downing bosses here and getting loot for everybody. So hopefully this strat helps you out a little bit if you're kind of stuck on Chronomatic Anomaly. It gives you an insight of the amount of damage that you can do even in survival spec, what I say quote unquote survival spec, that's running Righteous Protector and using survival trinkets. It's a pretty good way to get through this, and then after you guys get it on farm, obviously switch into your DPS trinkets and just starting to go absolutely ape on this boss and getting huge numbers, 450, 500 k DPS in that range. So anyways, like I said, hopefully this helped you out. Cheers and good luck on getting loot in the future, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thank you very much for joining.